Hello, this is Just Listen, hosted by George. Today is September 30th, 2024. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about U.S. government policy on elections, and the focus today is on immigration issues not being talked about. As you know, for both of the candidates running for president, immigration back and forth is the number one issue. But what I want to specifically talk about is still the part of immigration that they're not talking about. I want to connect some dots for you. The first one I want to talk about is where people are actually coming from, coming into the U.S. Now, the mainstream media does mention it like once every 8 months where they're coming from, but I want to pinpoint it. And also, I want to talk about other countries' immigration laws because I'm going to tie these together for this election cycle for people running for president. The three Latin American countries that the most people are coming from, and this includes the Caribbean too, are Venezuela, Ecuador, and Haiti. Now, did you know in general that as of 2024, with the Caribbean and Latin America, the U.S. government has put $2.5 billion of money to these Latin American countries. Now, here is the tie-in that no one is talking about. Are you aware that, for example, Venezuela, they make $20 billion a year from oil exports? I'll say it again. They make $20 billion a year from oil exports. You know why they're not making more money? Because the U.S. has sanctions on them. And let's tie it even closer together here. So we give Venezuela $3.7 billion worth of foreign aid since 2017. Now think about this. When did the immigrants really start coming from Venezuela? They started coming the summer of 2016, thereabouts. So these are related for immigration policy is why the U.S. is giving money to Venezuela in foreign aid, then their citizens are trying to get away from that government. Whatever's going on down there, you can let somebody else figure out the true reason why people are leaving. They come to the U.S., a lot of them illegally, and then they end up getting money from us for welfare and things of that nature, which that is true. I don't think that the illegal people can get it because they would have to contact the U.S. government. So I'm not sure how somebody illegal could get it unless they're partnering up with people already in the country. Maybe that's what they're doing. Just to be clear on that point right there. Now, I mentioned Haiti as well, and I told you a while ago that the U.S. State Department funded Kenya going over to Haiti for police actions. Now, the other part of that is that we have given Haiti $25 million. Now, if you go back a span of time, we're in the billions of dollars are given to Haiti, yet Haitians are leaving the country in mass numbers, and we know why. And let me be clear about this point too. I'm not saying that we shouldn't help people that come into the country legally. And that's the key term, legally. But I'm building the pattern with Venezuela and Haiti. We are giving them aid. Venezuela has oil exports, and yet we're not taking the money and pumping that back into their citizens coming into the country. We're adding additional funding from different sources like welfare funds and all that stuff to take care of their people. Nobody's talking about that. The money that we are giving them from aid for Haiti and also Ecuador is for economic change. I mean, you can go and read that stuff. Why isn't the mainstream media talking about this? Why? They're basically double dipping. Okay, meaning that we give the country money, then they use it for something else. They treat their citizens like crap, and then all of a sudden it's our problem again, and then we're pumping money into them. That doesn't seem like a wise way to use our money. Now, Ecuador is a little bit interesting. They have oil exports, they probably make 10 million a year. What's interesting is that they seem to have a stable government, but yet the people are leaving in mass numbers. So that one is a little bit harder to figure out why the people are leaving the country. There are jobs in Ecuador. The other interesting one is Colombia. So we give Colombia 90 million in security assistance this year and 958 million to address Venezuela crisis in Colombia. Why? Because the Venezuelans tried to escape into Colombia. Let me add something else to that. Guess who else exports oil? Colombia does. Colombia exports $15.6 billion worth of oil a year for profit. Why are we giving them money when they're making money? And to defend the administration's past, this original idea of helping out Latin America was from the 60s with John Kennedy, and what he was trying to do was stimulate economic growth, help them develop industries. What that's morphed into is this relationship of us funding them and their own people leaving the country. This immigration crisis is monumental from the aspect of what I'm telling you, that we're pumping billions of dollars in this country and the folks are still migrating to the U.S. and then we're paying for them again. Why did I mention other countries' immigration laws? I mention this because other countries are having the same issues that we are. The U.S. always has this perception that we Americans are big bag people and we don't want anybody in the country and we don't want to help anybody. That is not true. We are the only country that you can come to and get a chance for a better life from the perspective of through immigration. If you go to Europe right now, Europe is one of the hardest areas, group countries to get into now. Why? Because people are coming there from countries where the country's rich, but the people are poor, and there is no assistance whatever for people. And these countries I'm talking about, to include the Middle Eastern countries, it is hard to get into their country. Secondly, if you get in there illegally, they will kick you out of the country. It's not like the U.S. where the courts get involved and people are telling you that they're so oppressed and that if they go back. The other thing, too, is criminals. Listen to this. If you are a criminal in your other country and you go to Europe, you go to Dubai, you are immediately sent out of the country. In the U.S., and again, the politicians are not talking about it. One of them is trying to, but they keep getting distracted with other things that people are throwing at them. One point I wanted to say, to go back and say something. Did you guys know that Mexico exports oil for profit? Yet, for the last 40 years, their citizens have been coming to our country. Immigration, if you are serious about it, you need to give the American people the facts. Okay? We don't need to be talking about how they are being treated once they come into the country. Number two, they're not eligible for benefits if they come in the country illegally. But they keep talking about that. That's not where the real problem is. The real problem is what I just told you. Why are we allowing countries like Venezuela to be making huge profits off of oil sales? And then on top of that, we're giving them more money. And then their citizens come over here and then we spend more money to feed them and house them and make sure that they have health care. That's what needs to be talked about during the election cycle. Americans want to help. They have to have a clear picture coming from their candidates. Please be fact-based. When you're talking about immigration, and the streaming news medias are just as bad. And what they do is they show worst case scenarios with families and how the people at the border are treating them or mistreating them, and it's not humane. And they haven't once talked about these countries like Venezuela, Ecuador, and Haiti, which have these horrible governments that are not doing anything for their citizens. This is Just Listen, hosted by George. Let me know what you think.